Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session on traditional Chinese medicine. Today, we are going to talk about living life well, and it is inspired by the ancient Chinese art of nourishing life. I'm Mark Joseph Calano from the SMIC Institute of Traditional Chinese Medicine. And today we'll explore timeless wisdom on health, balance, and longevity. This lecture is going to be divided into two parts. The first part will be the lecture series, and you will see my slide presented to you already by now. The second part will be when I join you live to respond to inquiries and questions about health, longevity, and wellness. So let's start this one. The art of longevity is actually known as yang sheng, no? Or nourishing life. And this has offered profound wisdom on living well and long. And that's the beauty of Chinese medicine. For a very long time, scholars and practitioners of medicine in China had recorded longevity, had recorded what works in health and things like that. And that's the reason why they have one of the richest, deepest, most proven understanding about health, more than bioscience did, that simply emerged about 300 or 400 years ago in Western Europe. But this ancient practice of nourishing life combines philosophy, medicine, and practical guidance to actually help us struggle with our everyday stages of life. Nourishing life or Yangsheng is not merely about avoiding illness. It's about harmony, balance between mind and body, physical and mental, serenity and fitness, until we grow old. And therefore, it includes wisdom and ultimately an egoless identification with the way or everything that is. Sometimes the greatest truths are very simple. Don't smoke, stay active, drink moderately, and eat well. A 10-year British study showed that people who lived by these four habits lived 14 years longer than those who didn't. Simple actions, yet they transform life expectancy and vitality. Who doesn't want to live long? In China, the task of practitioners was precisely twofold. On the one hand, to make sure that the emperor lives long and therefore the mastery over longevity. And then on the other hand, to assure the continuity of the empire, of the dynasty, and for that reason, fertility. So, in matters of long life, battling sickness, overcoming pain, survival, TCM works very well. And on matters of fertility, we are also very well. Now, there are four legs of the chair. Chinese health philosophy compares well-being to a four-legged chair. The four legs are: one, cultivating the mind and emotions; two, regulating diet; three, balancing activity and rest; and four, sleeping well. If even one leg is weak, our stability, our health is compromised. Beyond these, healthy sexuality, connection with nature, and wise aging complete the picture of a well lived life. But modern society isn't that easy, right? We live in a rather complicated world. In fact, diseases threaten us as we are still afraid of the pandemic, and there is even a growing or increasing number of ILI or influenza-like diseases that we also need to pay attention to. Modern life confronts us with a global health crisis. And this global health crisis is not simply a matter of viruses and bacteria, but obesity, diabetes, dementia. Yet, most of these are not inevitable. These are lifestyle choices. The cultivation of health must become not just personal, but actually a social and political priority. And therefore, something we cannot already ignore, but something we have to pay attention to. So, what defines our health? Our health depends on three forces: one, constitution; two, fortune; and three, behavior. Constitution is what we inherit from our parents, a sort of factory defect. Um, that's the reason why sometimes we need to inquire about genetic diseases because they're handed down from person to person, family to family. It's not karma. It's just that there are some diseases that are embedded in our genes. Next is fortune. This is what life gives us. And that's the reason why for the Chinese, they pay attention not just on your year, but on eight very important, uh, very important uh, specifications of your birth: the year of your birth, the month of your birth, the day of your birth, and the time for the time of your birth. So you need, that's the reason why they need to check all of this one for your feng shui, no? But so constitution and fortune, whether you like it or not, we cannot do anything about that anymore. You are either born to this family at this time. That's not a matter of choice, but behavior. All of those are pre-heaven, we say in Chinese medicine. But post-heaven, after you are born, behavior, our daily choices, is the one thing we can control and even transform. How do we control and transform that, no? So we spoke a while ago about a pre-heaven essence, and this is your parents' constitutional strengths, parents' conception, condition at your conception. So you have to take note: were they young when they conceived you? Were they old when they conceived you? What was the what was what are you, the youngest? Are you the eldest? Because you can just imagine, if you're the 11th child, with no offense, if you're the 11th child, uh, much of your parents' gene or essence has already been consumed, no? Or the mother's health during pregnancy, or even the emotional and physical stresses in utero. So all of these are pre-heaven. But the most important is the post-heaven. This is the one that is brought about by your behavior. This is what is brought about by your living. No? So post-heaven, we build this one through breathing properly, eating, and living well. And the art of nourishing life is learning to guard the first, you, what what you already have, the pre-heaven essence, and nourishing the second, the post-heaven essence. And that's something we have to pay attention to, no? Modern science confirms this ancient wisdom. Studies show that long-lived parents often have long-lived children. But genetics explain only about 30% of lifespan. The rest depends on lifestyle. In other words, we need to pay attention uh, on on the idea that inheritance gives us potential, but behavior, no? Behavior, that's very important, shapes destiny. No? Behavior shapes destiny. And I like that a lot because that shows us depth, that shows us understanding, that shows us everything, no? And that's very important too. So, having discussed that very basic understanding, well, it's not basic, it's actually a lot of text to read already. We need to ask ourselves why we even get sick, di ba? Why do we even get sick? That's the most important thing to pay attention now. Why we get sick at all. So, Chinese medicine teaches that illness arises from three important sources: external causes like wind, cold, infection; internal causes, emotions. So, externally, yes, if it's windy, if it's hot, if it's cold, it can affect us. Infection for us is either cold or hot, in fact. Internal causes are what is brewing inside of us, and that includes intention, no? That includes a lot of things, no? A lot of things that that are triggered within us. Emotions like fear, anger, overjoy, sorrow, grief, overthinking, pensiveness. Those are emotions that can cause illness deep inside us. And other miscellaneous causes like diet, overwork, or accidents. Understanding these things, no? Like if you fall, that's accident. Or what you eat. Uh, Understanding these helps us prevent diseases before they even begin. And that's also very important. So if you look at it, external and internal causes and even miscellaneous causes are things that can either cause us to be sick or cause us not to be sick at all. Health, then, if you look at it in Western medicine or even in even in Chinese medicine, has something to do with balance, has something to do with homeostasis, balancing. Uh, and the balance of qi in Chinese medicine is a dynamic between, on the one hand, the upright qi, no, our body's defensive energy, and on the other hand, the pathogenic chi or harmful influences, and they're perpetually battling each other. When upright chi is strong, we resist illnesses and recover very quickly because we say in biomedicine our immunity is strong. But when the upright chi is weak, we fall sick easily, we heal slowly. The goal of nourishing life is to really strengthen the upright chi. And let's look at it in terms of the three causes of illnesses. First, external causes. Before vaccines and antibiotics were developed, people lived in constant fear of epidemics. Chinese physicians saw disease as an invasion of external factors or environmental factors like cold, dampness, heat. Today, science supports this. Even our genes change with the seasons. And we must learn to live in harmony with climate and protect ourselves from the extremes. And this is why it's very interesting to be working in corporations where they're just very strong air conditioning units. Or sometimes if you've been to Baguio or rode airplanes, you just realize, why is their air conditioning unit just extremely cold? It's not even humanely cold. It's not humane. It's like you're being frozen it's like you're being frozen. And external causes can harm us. So you realize sometimes you just stood outside and there was just a strong gush of wind here on your nape, and all of a sudden you feel your nape tighten, no? You feel your nape, and then you started having colds and things like that. That's an external invasion. Uh, but the external invasion, the invasion of the pathogen, can be bacterial, viral. They just call it cold or hot in Chinese medicine. Um, does in fact affect us, no? So how do we protect ourselves, no? Practical advices in protecting ourselves: keep warm after exercise or bathing. No, keep warm. uh in Filipino we say wag ka munang maligo papasmahin ka, but we seldom believe that. But cover yourself because the pores are all open. Avoid damp or wet clothing. Always protect the abdomen. In fact, there's a Chinese principle that says protect the middle jaw, protect the middle, and especially guard against cold after childbirth. This is getlai, right? In the Philippines, we even practice this one, that 1 month after your birth, you should actually cover yourself. You should not be going out. Or we can include to that, keep your legs and feet warm, uh, and pay attention on the seasonal transitions. Even clothing should adjust accordingly. So even modern research affirms that cold and damp exposure increases infection and joint problems. And we know that from Chinese medicine a very long time ago. So external pathogen is a matter of protecting yourself from external variables. Now, let's look at the internal causes. This is the second causes of illness. So there are 7 harmful emotions. Chinese tradition holds that emotions are as powerful as diet. It's like you feed the emotions. Excessive anger, joy, excessive worry, grief, or fear can literally make us ill. The key, of course, is to find the balance, the middle way, to feel emotions without being consumed by them. And that's really the art of TCM. How do you really do that? Diba? It's easier said than done. Let's look at some emotions, if not all of them. So first, the danger of anger. Anger is the easiest emotion to trigger and even the hardest to control. Sudden rage doubles the risk of stroke and even heart attack. But repressed anger, on the other hand, causes stagnation, leading to depression or even to disease. Health lies between expression and repression, which means a type of awareness without explosion. No? Um, because I'm just asked to talk about Chinese medicine in general, I will not go into the details of that. But you can just imagine we have ways and means to make that happen. Next, the paradox of joy, right? True joy is serene contentment. It's a harmony with the world. But excessive excitement or thrill-seeking behavior can exhaust the heart and mind. That's the reason why after you ride a roller coaster ride, you feel alive, yes, but also very tired. You've exhausted the heart and the mind. Even watching intense sports doubles heart event risk. Uh, Again, no, the middle way, the light without dependence is the key. Let's look at grief, worry, and fear. Grief, when natural, leads to wisdom, but prolonged sorrow, it drains life energy. In fact, lung energy for that matter. It dries it up. Worry and anxiety sap vitality, impair sleep. No? That's why some have insomnia. Fear and trauma, especially in the young, can damage the spirit for years. Cultivating resilience and emotional balance is true healing here. And that's something we need to pay attention to also. Now let's look at the miscellaneous causes of disease, because here there are a lot that is very true of the modern workstations, no? Like irregular diet, overwork, overstrain, excessive seating there, excessive standing also, insufficient rest, and night work. Uh, Other causes are also important because these variables disturb the natural yin-yang rhythm of life. Yin-yang rhythm of life. So what is yang? That's day. Yin means rest. That's night. No? So activity and rest, day and night. So if it's day, you have to be awake. If it's night, you have to be asleep. No? Leading to chronic diseases. The modern world asks us to go faster, but health demands we learn to pause. Let's look at some of these miscellaneous variables, like the harm of traumatic injury, the harm of traumatic injury. Even minor injuries can echo through decades if chi and blood flow aren't restored immediately. Immediate movement and warmth aid recovery. But traditional treatment emphasizes restoring circulation, not immobilizing, to prevent future pain and arthritis. There you see, the in biomedicine they isolate an area that is damaged in order for it to heal. In Chinese medicine, we circulate the blood in that area to make it work. Very interesting. But there are more to these. What else can we see? Modern environmental threats. Uh, we now live amid what we call invisible poisons. What are these? Pesticides, plastics, processed food, and other pollutants. These chemicals disrupt hormones. I have a patient who bought an oil, aromatherapy oil, and it really, really turned his hormones into havoc, no? Because oil, scents, all of these have the ability to disrupt your hormones, increase obesity, and even lower IQ. True health care, whether we like it or not, must include also environmental care. No? Environmental care. And that's something we have to pay attention to also. Okay? Uh, Next, the danger of wrong medical treatment. Ancient texts classified medicine as three types. There's a superior medicine, there's an intermediate medicine, and there's an inferior medicine. The last being strong but very harmful. Today, many modern drugs fall into that inferior class. Even now, treatment-related harm is among the leading causes of death. Medicine must heal, not merely attack diseases. It must heal. And that's something we need to pay attention to also. Okay? Uh, and that's the reason why we need to consider what is happening and what is going on. Let's talk about cultivating the mind. When we think of a healthy lifestyle, we often focus on diet, exercise, and sleep. But in traditional Chinese medicine, the mind often often focus on uh, but the mind is the true ruler of the body. A calm mind, centered heart brings harmony to essence and energy. So if the mind remains steady, the spirit flourishes and vitality is preserved. And that's the reason why you have to pay attention at cultivating the mind. Uh, that's why mindfulness activities are there, and they are a lot, precisely because they know that it helps. Our culture celebrates strong emotions. It's undeniable. We consider, for example, um, passion, excitement, intensity. But Chinese wisdom reminds us that emotional extremes drain our life energy. The goal is not to suppress feelings, but to cultivate balance. Too much emotion burns us out. Too little emotion numbs us. Healthy health lies in the middle way. A heart that is both open and also peaceful. So let's look at the risk of indulgence and repression. Uh, Unrestrained emotions can consume us. Anger, for example, can harm both self and others. Yet, repressing feelings create hidden knots. Frustration, insomnia, or even illness. The wise path is awareness. Feeling emotions fully, but not letting them rule. Fact. Experience them, then release them. Like clouds passing by through a clear sky. So the way to move forward is actually by managing our emotions. To master our emotions, we need to cultivate 5 habits. One, control and detachment. So not suppression, but awareness. Two, living in the present rather than reliving the past over and over again or fearing the future. Three, cultivating peace through compassion, laughter, and friendship. Fourth, practicing gratitude for what we have. And last, developing generosity, forgiving opens the heart. So, five, no? Since a while ago, I've been telling you a lot of things already, and it's important to just consider, no? Just listen, just listen. Another thing is the practice of meditation. For over 3,000 years, meditation has been the key to emotional harmony. The Tao Te Ching teaches empty yourself of everything, let the mind grow still, mindfulness. In stillness, we return to the source of life, our natural state of calm awareness. Modern research now echoes these ancient truths. Meditation, help heal anxiety, pain, or even stress. So let's look at some meditation basics, no? Um, Calming the mind. To begin, simply sit and stand in an open and relaxed posture. Let your breathing slow down naturally. Focus on one thing, like your breath, a sound, or a simple phrase. Thoughts will rise and will fall. Let them pass. Over time, the mind becomes like clear water, still, reflective, and full of light. At first, of course, this is challenging. No? This is actually very challenging. No? Uh, it sometimes at first it feels impossible. The mind jumps, chatter grows loud, but with gentle persistence, stillness emerges. Just a few minutes each day creates moments of deep nourishment. These moments gradually reshape how we live, how we work, and how we respond to life. And therefore, something that can help us face things down. In short, meditate. Second, dwell in the present moment. Chuang Tzu wrote, "The outmost man uses the heart like a mirror, responding, not storing." Living well means living in the only time that truly exists, the present. That's why there's a saying, today is a gift. That's why it's called present. When we are mindful, even ordinary moments become vivid. Awareness gives us choice, a pause before reaction, a space for wisdom to arise. What are the health benefits of meditation? No? For one, uh, sorry, ancient masters said that calming the mind heals the body. Parasympathetic versus sympathetic, fight or flight versus rest or digest. Healing doesn't happen when you're fight or flight. It happens when you rest and digest. Neuroscience now agrees with this one. Meditation enlarges brain regions tied to emotional control. It strengthens neural connections. It slows down aging and even improves self-awareness. Remarkably, just 8 weeks of daily practice bring measurable brain changes. And it's observable, it's not even a guess. It's observable, no? So, meditation, as I said, reduces anxiety, addresses depression and pain so much that this is even recommended by the UK Health Service for chronic depression. It lowers blood pressures, improve heart health, and boosts immunity. Studies even show reduced pain perception or even better digestion, rest or digest, right? In every system, in every system, calmness is medicine. Calmness is medicine. That's why today they even talk about meditation in schools, no? In schools. Uh, More schools are teaching what we call mindfulness to children. And research shows it improves attention, behavior, and emotional resilience. It reduces bullying, anxiety, and even absenteeism. Imagine a future where emotional intelligence is valued as much as academics. A generation learning to be both smart and kind. And that is actually where we are going. But meditation also helps us with self-knowledge. No? Know thyself is a philosophical, very famous philosophical dictum carved on the temple of Apollo. No? Uh, Yet self-knowledge is the hardest task of all. In stillness, though, we begin to see the patterns of our minds, old fears, borrowed voices, self-defeating habits. With awareness comes compassion. Compassion for ourselves, for others. Here, true healing begins when we cherish ourselves. This also includes cultivating positive emotions. Beyond quieting the mind, we can actively cultivate joy, gratitude, and love. Positive emotions are not luxuries, they're nourishment for life. Laughter, intimacy, generosity, time in nature, appreciation, each one strengthens body and soul. So the more we give, the more energy flows. And this is the foundation of health in TCM. No? Plus diet. In Chinese medicine, food is our daily medicine. Food, medicine as food. No? What we eat, how we eat, determines vitality. You have to choose whole, unprocessed foods. No? Not processed ones. Not sausages, not corned beef, not sardines, for example. You have to eat mindfully and avoid extremes. Extremely cold, extremely sour, extremely sweet, extremely bitter, anything that is extreme, extremely salty. Uh, Eat then when you are relaxed, not when you are being rushed. That's why I told you, sympathetic, fight or flight there. If you're being rushed, flight. You eat, but you don't get digested. Rest and digest is where the digestion happens. Eat when grateful, not when distracted, because digestion begins not in the stomach, but in the mind. And here we see the decline of modern food. Why? Modern food has lost much of its life force. Preservatives, pesticides, processing the processing strip food of nutrients. Plastics and chemicals seep in what we eat. Microplastics, remember. The solution is simple but profound, actually. Return to real food. Fresh, light, and pure. As the Chinese say, "Qingtan." Eat light to live long. Eat light to live long. So enough of eat all you cans. Uh, enough of eat all you cans. Period. Next, exercise. So we already have meditation. We already have diet. Uh, we already have exercise. No, movement is medicine. The ancient text, Wainanzi, warned the body laboring without rest collapses. We are destined to move gently and regularly. Gently is very important there. Walking, stretching, breathing. That's why going to the gym is really very taxing because you have to carry, no? Sitting all day or exercising intensely afterwards is not balance. The middle way means steady, daily movement, not exhaustion. Not exhaustion. That's why we can learn something from traditional Chinese exercise, Qigong, Tai Chi, right? Uh, they unite the body, the breath, the mind. They promote slow, free flow of energy, deepening breathing, and cultivating balance. These are not workouts, they are meditations in motion, nurturing both strength and stillness. Through them, movement becomes a spiritual practice. So we already have meditation, we already have food, we already have exercise. Now let's look at sleep. No, one of the things we spoke about a while ago. Sleep. Why is sleep very important? Sleep is when the body transforms energy that we eat and all into essence. Sleep is when healing truly happens in TCM. That's why lack of sleep weakens immunity. It ages the body and it blurs the mind. Adults like us need 7 to 9 hours of deep rest. So protect your nights as sacred time for renewal. There is a Chinese sleep wisdom, and the Chinese sleep wisdom is something we can pay attention to. It says here, prepare your mind by calming before bed. Avoid late eating because instead of the body resting, it spends time digesting. Sleep on your right side. That's for your stomach. Wash your feet in warm water and keep a regular schedule. In fact, you need to be asleep from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. These small rituals align us with nature's rhythm. Sleep when dark, rise with light. Now, we cannot speak about sleeping without talking about the affairs of the bedroom. Sex in Chinese thought is both health practice and pleasure. When balanced, it circulates qi, strengthens the kidney, and deepens intimacy. But excessive sex drains energy, especially for men. Moderation and mutual respect preserve essence and joy. As Ge Hong wrote, sex is like water and fire. Both can nourish, but also both can destroy. Of course, if we talk about the affairs of the bedroom, we have to talk about pregnancy and postpartum care, no? Pregnancy and the month after birth are sacred times. The mother's emotions, diet, and rest shape her child's lifelong health. While you're pregnant, you're not just talking about yourself. There's more to that. More to that. After childbirth, warmth, nourishment, and rest protect against illness decades later. Nature's rhythm teaches creation and recovery. Both require stillness. Creation and recovery both require stillness. Now, when we talk about pregnancy and postpartum care, we need to talk about the care for children. The care for children. Children, children's health grows from love, from play, and simplicity. Nourish them with whole foods, movement, and emotional safety. Avoid overfeeding children, overstimulation, and even overpressure. Balanced education cultivates not just intellect, but empathy and even resilience. That's why we need to look at the healing power of nature. No? So nature is our greatest healer. Modern science now confirms that time outdoors, when you're on nature trip, reduces stress, boosts immunity, and speeds recovery. In Chinese thought, nature and humans are one. Our inner rivers mirror those of the earth. So, to live well is to live in rhythm with the seasons. And this is the one of the few things that we need to look at. How do we live with the seasons? Like right now, there's longer nights than days. So that means more sleep than being awake. But during summer, there's shorter nights, longer days. Then you get the point why there has to be more activity there, right? Uh, Next, music, dance, and art. Music and art heal the spirit. The ancients used melody to calm the heart and restore harmony. Dance, on the other hand, integrates body and emotion, uniting joy and movement. So when we sing, paint, or move, we return to the flow of life itself. Now, let's look at the natural process of aging and old age. In TCM, aging is not decline, it's transformation. Attitude shapes longevity more than genes. So keep moving, stay curious, connect with others, and live with purpose. As Confucius said, when three men walk together, there is always something I can learn. So we can look at the longevity project. The longevity project is a century long study that found that those who live longest were not the most relaxed, but the most purposeful. Ikigai, remember? The Blue Zones project. They worked meaningfully, stayed connected, and balanced effort with rest. In short, they live the wisdom of nourishing life, moderation, engagement, and joy in life's flow. So, yes, we can live long, no? Only if we do this. In fact, you'd be surprised. Our patients in the clinic are 103, 93, 96, 97. More than enough. No? More than enough. Um, so, death and dying. Chinese philosophy views death as part of nature's cycle, not something to fear. Life arises and returns to the Tao, like waves returning to the ocean. Dying well means acceptance, dignity, peace. The goal is not endless life, but a complete life, which means life continuously until the end. Life continuously until the end. So, we've considered already some of the aspects of life, some suggestions already. Now let's look at some other things, no? More modern applications of this field. I think it's very visible to you that I'm already on slide 46 of 60 slides. So it's very fast. And I hope you are still with me and following me. Later, you can ask questions and I'll be happy to respond to them. So the microbiota, we are not entirely human. We are ecosystems. Trillions of microorganisms live within us, forming what we call the microbiota, our invisible partners in health. They train our immune system, shape our mood, influence metabolism, and even affect our weight. A healthy gut begins at birth through natural delivery, breastfeeding, uh, here you'd see we don't suggest formulas, and a diverse fiber-rich diet. Caring for these microbial friends actually means caring for ourselves. Another thing to consider is smoking or vaping. Tobacco first came to China in the 1600s, and by 1700s, physicians already warned of its dangers. Today, we know that half of all long-term smokers die early, losing an average of 10 years of life. But the good news is it's never too late. The body begins to heal within hours of quitting. Every cigarette not smoked is a breath reclaimed for life. Let's look at the myth that goes with detoxing. You have so many patients who do this one. Modern culture loves the idea of detoxing through juices, cleanses, special pills. But the truth is, your body already has an amazing detox system. The liver, kidneys, lungs, skin, digestion. No expensive program can replace what nature already perfected. So the real detox is simple. Avoid toxins, eat clean, drink water, rest well, move often. Support your body and it will cleanse itself. And it will cleanse itself. Don't forget that. Uh, let's look at Chinese medicine, science and medicine. No? Uh, Very different from what we're used to. For centuries, China led the world into scientific discovery, the compass, paper, printing, gunpowder, even smallpox inoculation long before the West ever did. Traditional medicine, too, was based on careful observation and experimentation. Its wisdom endures because it worked, tested by millions over a millennia. These ancient insights deserve not dismissal, but deep respect and renewed study. And that's the reason why I want you to pay attention at this one. No? I want you to pay attention at what's going on. No? I will jump one slide and move immediately, two slides and move immediately to the three pillars of longevity. Longevity rests, or long life rests on three pillars, as I said: constitution, fortune, and behavior. And we've already seen how constitution is inherited strength, fortune is our life circumstances, but behavior is something we can consider. Through mindful living, we can compensate for weaknesses and create a foundation for long life and vitality. Perhaps the greatest wisdom of Chinese medicine is always the middle way. Moderation in all things, in emotion, in diet. So in emotion, neither indulge nor repressed. In diet, neither excess nor deprivation. In work, rest, sex, and sleep. Balance is health. Extremes just deplete our energy. Harmony is the one that sustains it. True mastery necessitates gentle balance in every area of our life. So, what are practical steps that we can do right now? First, start small. One step, one habit, one breath. Start small. No, always start small. Always pay attention at what you can do, not what you can't do. Okay? Next, be patient and kind to yourself. Be patient and kind to yourself. Change takes time. It takes a long time. Third, listen to your body. It knows what it needs. Fourth, find a community or teacher to support your journey. And lastly, keep learning. Health cultivation is a lifelong art, not a one-time fixed. No, it's a lifelong art. And the wisdom of the ancients tell us that. The Yellow Emperor Inner Classics teaches the sages did not treat those already ill, but those not yet ill. Preventing disease is wiser than curing it. We don't wait for thirst to dig a well or for a battle to forge weapons. The time to cultivate health is now. Now is the time to consider your health, not when you're already sick. While we are well, prevention is the highest form of medicine. Take note of that. Prevention is the highest form of medicine. If you're already sick, napabayaan, di ba? Research already confirms this ancient wisdom. No? Meditation changes the brain, gentle exercise heals, nature restores, diet matters profoundly. And yet we live in the modern times. Our modern world has brought comfort, but also disconnection. We've lost touch with natural rhythms, turning day into night, night into day, eating unprocessed food, not being connected with community and people, and stillness. Yet all these can be reclaimed by integrating modern science with timeless wisdom. We can rediscover how to live well, in balance with ourselves, with others, and with the earth. So it's good to say your journey begins now. Begins now. Living well is not a destination. Becoming healthy is not a destination. It's a journey. Begin with awareness. Notice how you eat, how you move, how you rest, how you feel. Awareness leads to choices, to living deliberately, not by habit. With practice, these choices become your way of being. And as you nourish your own health, you naturally become a light for others. Every moment is a chance to begin again. To end, an old story tells of 10 men, each over 100 years old. When asked their secret, they give different answers. Walking, eating lightly, resting early, laughing often, staying free from worry. The truth is, there's no single secret. Health is the harmony of many small things: physical, emotional, and spiritual. May we each live long and live well, cultivating wisdom and compassion every day. If you're interested in wanting to focus on your health journey, I invite you to join us in ACU_SAWG in Instagram and Facebook, or ACU Plus by the St. Anthony Wellness Group. And we'll be happy to journey with you in your health journey. Thank you very much for paying attention. I will now join you for your Q&A. Thank you very much, and I hope it was a meaningful session for everyone.